While it was the legends Mike Gundy, Mike Holder, and Boone Pickens that laid the foundation for all of the Cowboy football success, it is in fact Eric Morris, Chad Weiberg, and Raj Murdy that are already greatly benefiting with instantaneous national respect.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are we feeling, Big 12 country? Shout out to the regulators. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at Aldeo State. Today, we're partially brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football, and if you're new to FanDuel, you can bet just $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets if it's a winner. Give it the bee's knees for all of your betting needs. That is FanDuel. Meanwhile, we'll get to slide into this conversation of Oklahoma State appearing in a lot of top 125, 50, 10, 5 scenarios. And as we always are going to mention Indiana and that being the blueprint, there's a big difference between Indiana's meteoric rise and Oklahoma State potentially capitalizing on something comparable. And that is the fact that Oklahoma State had 18 straight years of making bowl games. We had almost 2 decades straight of a ton of success. Just not only playing for the right to go to a bowl game, but there was a lot of stretches in there. We were playing for 10 wins, 11 wins, Big 12 titles. And yes, even in 2011, the Cowboys should have played for a national championship, so much so it destroyed the BCS. And now we get the new age of college football postseason because of Oklahoma State getting screwed by the components, whether it be human and computer. Long story short, Oklahoma State somehow got maneuvered around to where they were 0.008% behind Alabama for the Natty. So Oklahoma State has been at the forefront of changing a lot in college football while not exactly getting the respect for it. Mike Gundy is the one who built the foundation. Mike Gundy is who gave Oklahoma State that pedestal to be a viable brand nationally. Should we be bigger nationally? Probably. Could we be? Yeah, I think you could easily make that argument. But without Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State is not in its position. So without the foundations being set, I don't think we get Eric Morris, because I think Eric Morris realizes you can win at Oklahoma State. It was just proven. And if you fix a couple things here and there, if you get more buy-in from donors, you increase your NIL, you get a little bit better at recruiting. If you do all of that in Stillwater, winning has already been proven. Roster maintenance has already been a proven commodity. Getting guys to Stillwater, Oklahoma that are about their business, it's not as difficult as sometimes we were led on to believe. And you're seeing that right now with Eric Morris. We are definitely going to be the beneficiaries of him bringing out over the North Texas talent, which cracks us into this top 100. CBS put out their top 100, and Oklahoma State did have multiple guys make the list. First, you have number 3, Drew Mestemaker. He is number 3 in the top 100 preseason players of the year. Caleb Hawkins is the number 1 running back at number 23 in the country. And then Wyatt Young did crack into the top 100 at the very, very tail end of it, which would put him right around that top 10 wide receiver range. So that is the top 100. You have multiple Cowboys that are in that, which is ironic because we didn't last year. And even a year prior, I think we had 2. Was it Ollie Gordon? I don't even think Nick Martin was listed in the preseason top 100 for whatever ridiculous reason. But Ollie Gordon was kind of the guy to be in there. Dejon Stribling was certainly an individual when he left for Ole Miss that was included in that top 100, that it kind of hurt the heart to see him go. Now Oklahoma State has 3 top 100 players. Appreciate you, North Texas, because they're all 3 former North Texas individuals that are now coming to Oklahoma State. But that's not it. We also made an appearance on a way too early, top 25. How about you? Looking at you, Sports Illustrated, we appreciate when you do things the right way, and this is kind of the right way. All they did was take the place of North Texas. So, again, there's a lot of these similarities here. North Texas finished the season number 24, and according to Sports Illustrated, Oklahoma State's going to begin the season number 24. After a 1-11 record, here's what they said. It might seem absurd to rank a 1-win team in the preseason top 25. However, the arrival of Eric Morris sends a rapid turnaround signal in Stillwater. Morris comes over from North Texas and brings a massive influx of talent with him. The Cowboys signed, this says 48 players. We know it to be 55 players in the transfer portal. 16 of those followed him from North Texas. It ended up being 18 if you count Io that comes over from James Madison after a year in North Texas. This is a complete roster overhaul for Oklahoma State. The offense will be unrecognizable compared to the unit that struggled so much in 2025. QB Drew Mestemaker arrives to take the reins. He is joined by running back Caleb Hawkins, wide receiver Wyatt Young, and even linebacker Ethan Wazlowski also joins the defensive group, knows Morris's system, and can execute it from day one. Expect the Cowboys to be the most improved team in the country. Thank you, Sports Illustrated. I think you're dead on. It's not just because we have some of the North Texas stars coming over. I think, again, when you factor in Boa coming over from Illinois or Chisholm coming over from UCLA, there's a lot of other talent. Johnson coming over from Tulane. So it's not just the North Texas guys, but this is one of the biggest reasons that we're going to be at the forefront of a lot of these conversations is because of that combination of Drew Mestemaker and Caleb Hawkins and Wyatt Young. But that's not it. Oklahoma State is continuing to rack up top lists. We have 3 in the top 100. You could make the argument that we probably could have a couple more individuals by the end of the year that pop up in that top 100 category, the top 25 for Sports Illustrated. Thank you very much, ESPN, for helping Oklahoma State out by putting us in the CFP for next season as the 11th seed. Indiana is their 1 seed, followed by Georgia at 2, Texas Tech at 3, which would be fantastic because BYU got screwed and we didn't get 2 Big 12 teams in this previous season, even though we clearly deserved it. Notre Dame at 4. I mean, their only losses to BYU. They're unfortunately going to get in no matter what. USC at 5, Texas A&M at 6, Ohio State at 7. Miami, a.k.a. the U, is going to be at 8. And then you've got number 9, Oregon, who the Cowboys get to play next season, followed by number 10, Texas. Our Cowboys at 11. And then number 12, they did have Hawaii. But if you watch this previous season, Hawaii's doing some things. They got the former quarterback that used to be a Rainbow Warrior that is leading them right now. He's doing a remarkable job. So they could easily be the North Texas or JMU kind of story this upcoming season, just like Oklahoma State could find themselves in a lot of these things. I've been trying to temper my expectations a little bit because, again, I jumped up on that we're going to win 9-10 games last year because of Todd Grantham and the SEC defense and all this other crap that ended up not coming to fruition. But it's really hard to maintain your composure when all of this craziness is going down, right? And then as it pertains to the top 10, Oklahoma State definitely is going to make an argument for being a top 10 team when it's all said and done, as it compares to, right, the CFP conversation. Right, 11 seed, that's great. Could we crack in the top 10? Absolutely. And then as it pertains to the top 5, yeah, Drew Mestemaker, number 3 quarterback in the country. Caleb Hawkins is the number 1 running back in the country, according to the transfer portal metrics and some of that stuff coming over from CBS. And then you have Wyatt Young factoring into this equation. So Oklahoma State is in a really good position. And there's a lot of publications that are having the Cowboys take the top off of the Big 12 in the upcoming season. And with how wild, whacking, and crazy this conference is, I mean, anything's a possibility. We certainly have the talent. It seems as though we have the continuity on the staff with a lot of these guys coming over. I love what Raj Murdy is doing. I love the fact that we're being somewhat selective in not only the portal, but also in the recruiting realm when it comes to high school. And it's just fun that Mike Gundy built the foundation so nationally people understand that there's a little bit of a sleeping giant here. And it seems as though a lot of people nationally believe that Eric Morris is the individual needed to awaken the sleeping giant of Stillwater, America. A sleeping giant for you this Super Bowl needs to be with FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday. One last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season is officially over. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where the predictions turn into play, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels much bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make Super Bowl even more exciting. The kickoff all the way through the final whistle If you're invested extra with FanDuel, you're going to be able to take just $5 and turn it into $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 hauler is a winner. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. The last call for football on FanDuel is here. An official sportsbook betting partner of Super Bowl 60. Make sure that you visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Capitalize on the Super Bowl. Capitalize on your money-making season with FanDuel. All right, now we get to slide into segment 2 here, and as a lot of you have seen, Coach Deion Sanders, a.k.a. Primetime, has instituted varying degrees of penalties for exorbitant number of things, which we're gonna get into. Whenever you're looking at this in totality, it's kind of crazy that this hasn't happened sooner. It's kind of wild that this hasn't popped up sooner. This is supposed to be conducted kind of like a professional operation, right? And if you're conducting things like a professional operation, this is part of it. This is 100% part of it. There's fines that are accrued for you not, living up to what you're supposed to in the NFL. So if we're supposed to be preparing these young men for the NFL, I appreciate what Coach Prime's doing. And your favorite team is probably about to do something comparable. That includes ours at Oklahoma State. Is it going to look identical to what Coach Prime's is? Probably not. But the precedence has been set. And yeah, Oklahoma State's going to do it. So I would imagine a lot of places are going to do this. If you're preparing them for the pros, you need to prepare them for the negative side of the pros as well. And that is, if you're showing up late to stuff, you might not even make it out of rookie minicamp. You might not even get an opportunity to make a roster if you're late to stuff. So the conduct, expectations, and violations for Colorado on the field equal sportsmanship, teamwork, effort, and compliance with all the rules. The fines are $500 if you are late to practice, $2,500 if you were a no-show at practice. If you're late to a meeting or a film session, that's a $400 fine. If you're a no-show to a meeting or a film session, it's a $2,000 fine. If you're late to strength and conditioning, $1,000 fine. No-show to strength and conditioning, $1,500 fine. If you're late to medical treatment, $1,000 fine. If you don't show up at all, it's a $1,500 fine. Other violations go on to say, if you violate team rules, you can be fined $1,000 to $2,500 based on the severity. And any public or social media misconduct, $2,000 to $5,000 based on severity. And some of that's going to be a little bit difficult to police, right? Like, I don't know what constitutes as public or social media engagement that's viewed as negatively. Now, sure, if you get picked up by Johnny Law and you're posting crazy stuff, that probably would fall under that umbrella. But holistically, I don't know what everything entails, and I don't know exactly what Oklahoma State's version of this would potentially look like, but I think this is a good thing. And, if you talk to some of the players about this upcoming potential, a lot of them will tell you if we would have had this previous season, the season probably would have went entirely differently, right? But we couldn't exactly do that because it would have went against some of the things that we were telling players when it comes to NIL and, different models that are going to be enacted throughout the course of the season. There was supposed to be a checks and balances. Like there was supposed to be negative ramifications if you were late to stuff. But for whatever reason, we didn't do it last year. It didn't happen. And now we have a completely new roster. So I, for one, am excited about this because, again, we're supposed to be preparing these guys for the future. It used to be about helping them become better young men, right? Which is something that Mike Gundy was absolutely remarkable at, that scholastically and learning to be responsible and learning to fight through adversity and learning to understand the difference between being hurt and being injured. A lot of these things are applicable in life. They're applicable to what you do after college and the jobs that you get and how reliable you are in those jobs, etc. I'm not saying that that's still not a possibility. I think that is important, that you want to try to uplift these young men to be grown men, to go on and have families and careers and X, Y, and Z. But let's be real. That's not the main point of college ball anymore. The main point of college ball is to win, to get marketability, publicity, notoriety for the university, because that helps make money, right? That's what this whole thing is boiled down to, which means they are what? They're basically employees. That's what this is. That's what they are. They're employees without certain protections. And yes, you would expect the agent to provide some semblance of protections, but that word agent, it's crazy. If you don't have a collective bargaining or something to that effect to keep the agents from doing stupid stuff and saying crazy stuff, then there's always going to be a problem. But I appreciate that Coach Prime is calling it for what it is, just like Mike Gundy did try to do. Mike Gundy did try to say they need better representation. They are employees. There should be a different set of expectations and guidelines, but there just hasn't been. And so if you're hearing any negativity in regards to this for Coach Prime, just know that a lot of universities, I'd imagine, are exploring something comparable to this. Because if you had an NFL PA kind of thing, then it would limit the agents from doing nefarious things to help their clients or help themselves. Because that's the biggest thing, guys, is are there agents out there that are genuinely just trying to do what's best for the client? Sure, 100%. But are there more agents that are only trying to get themselves more opportunities? Right? That's part of it. And they're not going to like any of this. You're taking out of their money to some degree now, right? Like your agent gets a percentage, whether it's 6%, 8%, 10%. All agencies are a little bit different. All contracts are a little bit different. But regardless of what percentage that individual is going to take, if you have a client, aka a player that had his previous school, was late to a lot of practices, was late to a lot of films, it didn't show up to health and nutrition or medical room, whatever the case may be. If you know that your client had a hard time with all of that stuff, it's going to affect your money. So it's going to be harder for you to represent that client next time because he already screwed the pooch a little bit. So some of this that Coach Prime is doing will be a limiting factor on players just running away with the rules. And again, if this was implemented at Oklahoma State this previous season, I'm not saying that we have a considerably better record, but I am saying that the effort on the field probably looks a little bit different. I am saying that the execution probably looks a little bit different. There's a lot of things that have changed that have me insanely excited, but one of them is this holding to a standard. You would like to think that my locker room runs so well, we don't have to have any punishments. That's not true, right? If you have 85, 105 players, statistically, some of them are going to be late. And if they're late for a ridiculous reason, there needs to be some accountability. Because if you don't have any accountability, you get a 3-win, 2-win season or a 1-win season. That's what you get. When you have some people that are showing up early and they're busting their tail and they're staying late and they're doing extra film and extra practice, extra running, all of that stuff. And then you got other dudes that are 5 minutes late to this and 15 minutes late to that. And they don't stay after to do anything and they don't want to watch film. Like, it's going to create a lot of animosity. And sometimes it may not even be warranted. But that was a big issue this previous season. So I think that if we would have had these standards this previous year, the season looks a little bit different. And maybe Mike Gundy sells a job because whatever happened at Oregon, it happened. You could say that we weren't prepared, we weren't ready, we weren't good enough. Well, you could say a million things. But I think it's fair to say that what Gundy got was the loss to Tulsa. Right? That you can't follow that up with that. But again, I think it's some of that accountability. There was dudes showing up late to stuff constantly, and they were constantly getting rewarded with more playing time. So what does that do to all the guys that don't show up late? It lets them know that if you put in the work, you put in the time, you put in the effort, you hold yourself accountable and you're reliable, it doesn't matter because, you're not one of the chosen few. And it's bound and determined to rub off negatively in the locker room, and I think that is precisely what happened. It's no coincidence that Oklahoma State got significantly better as the season progressed with more and more second and third stringers playing. Like, the more we removed the starters, the better the team got, and it was very, very visible. So again, if your stars are not held to a standard, it's kind of hard to get a lot of things rocking and rolling. So now this seems to be something that a lot of places are going to institute. Will it look identical to Coach Prime's? Probably not. But generally speaking, there will be ramifications if you continuously are an issue. And if you start messing with your agent's money, that can affect your next destination too. So I think this is a perfect way to kind of even out any ridiculousness from players and agents, and even to some degree, coaches. Because I think coaches would be part of this as well. If coaches are showing up late to stuff or they're not showing up to stuff, I'm sure they will be held to something comparable. And that's what we need. We need accountability. Speaking of accountability, you need to have some whenever you're driving out on the road as well. And Mazda likes to move the game forward. For those who know that there's more to the score than what's on the screen, a Mazda can remind you of what it really takes to raise the bar. When you see it, when you feel it, sit in it, drive it, it's that extra work that it takes to become great that helps Mazda dial in every detail, giving that extra fine tune, that fire, that grit, and that never quit mentality to every single vehicle. They put that passion into every model, and the highlights make it real, what it took to get there, what it takes to make it all count. There's more to Mazda, just like there's more to you. So go check out your local Mazda today, because with Mazda, you can move and be moved by Mazda. Last but not least, are we a hockey school? Well, maybe not yet, but it does appear as though we're trying to be. Oklahoma State has, had some success. We covered on this show a few years ago when we beat OU in hockey, and that was like a very big deal because, OU had been putting time and money and resources into it for quite some time, and Oklahoma State basically just started an upstart club team just a handful of years ago, and now we're beating Penn State at Penn State. And we just beat the tar out of somebody. I don't know what the overall record is, but I know it's ridiculous. I think I've only seen one or two losses in any capacity this year. And so they're not quite like NCAA level. They're still kind of obviously a club team, but they're a club team that is going out and beating legitimate D1s that have all of the funding, that have the NCAA accreditation, the hockey rinks, the whole 9 yards. They have all of that. And now Oklahoma State hockey is hoping to trying to get something in regards to a new stadium. And they put out some renderings of what it could potentially look like. And there's supposedly support, or there could be support for like $200 million going to Oklahoma State hockey that would be part of this new building. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. And I love it. I tell you, out of all of the uniforms that we have, the hockey jerseys are probably the best. Softball can make a case here and there for some pretty spectacular uniforms. But hockey definitely has the best uniforms. They have the best jerseys. They have a lot of, the fan base that is rallying around them. I never thought growing up that hockey would be a thing at Oklahoma State, even club hockey. Heck, I never even thought rollerblade hockey would be a thing in the middle of Oklahoma. But here we are, and it's kind of crazy. I don't know how we've been able to assemble a legitimate Division I NCAA competitive level team in the middle of Oklahoma with being a club team. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. But I also don't really know anything about hockey. Why? Because I never thought it would be an Oklahoma State sport that I ever had to put any time or effort into, because I never thought it would be a thing. And Oklahoma State hockey, you got to give my son a shout out. He's been asking me weekly, have you talked about Oklahoma State hockey? Have you talked about Oklahoma State hockey? He's the one sending me a lot of this information. And now when you beat Penn State on the road, it kind of adds that instantaneous, oh crap, which is probably something we should be talking more about, because if there is enough backing to get anything close to those renderings by 2030, I mean, I think it would be pretty cool. In the meantime, it would be nice to have it done, whether it be in Boone Pickens Stadium. That's what Penn State was doing. They had a full-on ice skating rink right out there in the middle of the Penn State football field, Beaver Stadium or whatever it is. If they can do it, hell, we can do it. If we can have concerts in it, we can have hockey games in it. I don't know that Oklahoma State hockey ever gets to that, legitimate NCAA D1 level. We're obviously good enough right now. Like, we could compete with that level, with the Minnesotas of the world. But, I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot of money. When we're trying to be competitive in football, basketball, baseball, softball, if you start, taking money from those sports, football is a big revenue producer. Basketball, if you're really, really good, it can produce you a little bit of revenue. But everything else is a non-revenue sport. Hockey would be a non-revenue sport, I would imagine. Again, hockey's not my area of expertise, so jump down in the comments section. Let me know. But doesn't Tulsa has a team. Oklahoma City has a team too. And I don't think either of them experience a lot of sellouts. I'm just saying, the love for hockey in the middle of Oklahoma from a fan base perspective, probably pretty slim. Oh, and I'd also imagine there's probably not a ton of fights. They've put rules, I think, on some of the fighting. It used to be like a regular occurrence, but now it still happens occasionally. Heck, I think I even recall Oklahoma State getting in a fist fight with a North Texas player in hockey while we were up like 8-0. I don't know why North Texas decided then. Maybe something about Eric Morris and Drew Mestemaker flashed up on the screen and somebody felt some kind of way. I don't know. But anywho, I think it would be absolutely exciting. I would love a hockey jersey because they have the coolest on campus by far. But as of now, this is a really cool story. Oklahoma State actually is legitimately really good. Again, help me in the comments. How did this happen? How does middle of Oklahoma, right, get a bunch of really good hockey players on ice? I don't get it. I know Oklahoma State doesn't just have, regional students, but I can't imagine we have an overabundance of hockey dudes, but evidently we have more than enough to make some crazy stuff happen. I hope that they can get to that legitimate NCAA D1 level, because clearly they have a decent amount of support. If they're putting out public information that we're hoping to build a new facility and we're hoping to be able to get $200 million by 2030, I don't think you would put something out there if you thought it was completely impossible. Unlikely, maybe, sure. But I don't think you back it this hard and go through this much effort if there isn't at least some possibility of this stuff happening. Now, again, we've seen from Oklahoma State hockey that there might be a game inside Boone Pickens at some point in time. I think that should happen. And I would be surprised if, I don't want to say a sellout in Boone Pickens for hockey, but I don't see why we couldn't get 15, 20,000 people in there for a one-off big event. That would be pretty cool. I'd be pretty excited about it. All right, y'all. That's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here in Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe to my podcast. And people out there, you're everything that makes this work. I appreciate what you do. Go do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. All righty, y'all. Later, taters.